Okay, so that means that we're live now? And then you'll go back and press stop stream.
Yep. We're good.
Bingo. So now you can go back to that Safari page because the kid's already seeing you once. I think you'd have to click on the icon. Oh yeah, great. First about your seating charts. What? The camera?
Yeah, I think that's where it was, and I just do it.
Good morning, Dawn. This is Anais. Hope everyone had a great first day yesterday. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Which one is it?
Just a reminder, nutrition is free for everyone.
Oh, that one?
If you need to meet with your counselor to change your schedule, you can make appointments starting Thursday. Please continue to go to your classes on your current schedule. If you need a locker, come to the new assistant principal's office across from the existing AP office during passing period, before school, lunch, or after school only. Free period stickers will be given out starting the third week of school, as your schedules could still possibly change. We will announce when the time comes, so keep your ears open for that announcement. If you have a free period, the AP office is looking for some office aides. Please see your counselor. That's it for today, Dawn. Make it a good one.
I suppose since period 3 will be the one with the announcements. Thank you. I should probably clarify some things. Daniel Kim? David, dang it. Davis, you're right over there. I should probably clarify with the thing that our district and school have a policy that the school shall observe or shall create the opportunity for students to observe the Pledge of Allegiance. I honor whether you choose to or not, in my personal opinion, is equally valid speech. Whichever statement you make, as far as I'm concerned, is constitutionally protected and equally valid. I don't have any personal value attached to the decision. So whether you choose to stand or not is totally up to you, but I consider both of those to be valid forms of speech. So the one thing I don't want to do is ignore that moment. So whichever you choose to do is fine. I normally do not stand and I normally do not pledge to anything. And I don't really feel compelled to discuss that any further, just to say that the one thing I don't like is when kids are just being chaotic during that moment. I hope that's clear. So the seating chart is neither punitive nor a reward. You're not busted for sitting. I didn't like pick you. You're not like, this is not like, hey, way to go, or like, oh, you're in the back. The machine puts you in alphabetical order depending on where I tell it to start the alphabetical order. So I believe you're the end of the alphabet and you're the beginning. Just some like personal bro advice, like one human to another. I strongly urge you, whenever you have the choice, to sit in the front. As a student, I've done it all different ways, and it took me a long time to start sitting in the front. Once I did, that matters. And like as an employee during staff meetings, I always sit in the front now, and I feel like that's a smart choice. As a teacher, I gotta tell you, as much as I try to remove all of my implicit biases and I try to recognize all students equally, somehow the students in the front just get more attention. And I don't know if that's good or bad on my end, but it's clearly beneficial to you whenever you have a choice, sit in the front. Personal advice, I don't care what you do. Separate from that, I believe that the best way for me to treat all of you equally is to randomize this and give everybody a fair shake. So every quarter, I move the starting point to a different corner. So you're in the front this time, but the next time I calculate this, the start of the alphabet will be the fridge, which means the person who at that time is the end of the alphabet will probably be at the end of the snake, wherever that ends up. I'll do my best to set a new seating chart roughly once a quarter. The benefit for me of having a seating chart is that attendance is faster. That having you in a consistent seat makes it easier for me to place an identity onto a face, because I can kind of remember where you sit as part of your identity. And also it sort of randomizes things so that I don't get to pick on just the handsome young men or just the pretty young girls or just the people who reflect my skin color or culture or whatever. And it forces you to socialize with people who you may otherwise have chosen to neglect. It also groups you sort of randomly, so it's not the cool kids versus the bad kids or whatever. Like I said, it'll change up, so this is not permanent. As a matter of fact, in the first couple of weeks, as the counselors shuffle you in and out, I'll probably have to change them every day. For all I know, it'll be different tomorrow. I try to crowd the front, so there will usually not be empty spaces in the seating chart. Everybody will be moved forward to fill them from the back. Questions about that? You're welcome to speak. You're being very quiet and it's scary. I feel like you're angry with me. I'm very insecure because of my gut. Fine. Hey, make sure that you remember the warm-up. Every day you got to make an entry, even if it's not a question. In your warm-up from yesterday, you would now write August 22nd, seating chart. Who was not here yesterday? Davis, are you comfortable with showing our new student what the warm-up paper is and stuff?
I'll let me do it.
All right. Claire, my whole Apple ecosystem is so carefree and smart at home, and it's so broken here.
I'm so sorry.
What is different?
I don't know.
Okay. I ramble and then I can't tell where I've ended up and who got the right stuff and who got the wrong stuff. And so sometimes if I spend one day trying to make a point and I have a few spare minutes the next day, I like to make sure that I actually get to clarify and make my point better. So the plastic versus paper. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that your generation has a bunch of really tough challenges ahead. Right? You've probably heard about this environment thing. I'm sure you all realize that whether or not you want to, it's a problem you'll have to deal with So you can put your head in the sand and you can ignore it if you choose, but either way, you're gonna have, like, you've gotta do, like, you'll have to make a position on environmental issues. I saw yesterday that when you choose the paper plastic thing, most of you were thinking about environmental things, and actually the trouble is that sometimes the stuff that's in our day-to-day discourse is not scientifically sound, it's just babble or marketing or both. So when I think about the plastic and paper thing, I think it's kind of a perfect example, and that's where I want to pick up from yesterday. We've all caught in the wind by now that there are some significant costs to plastic things. You might know that plastic kind of lasts a long time, so if we don't manage it correctly, it can be a pollution thing in the ocean. You might have heard that plastic breaks up into little pieces that chemically don't change. So they can be ingested into very small organisms and work their way up the food chain and aggregate in certain organisms, and they can cause digestive or metabolic problems. Maybe you've heard this. Maybe you know that plastics are part of the fossil fuel material chain, and so our dependence on fossil fuels, of course, is what gets us into the plastic world. So maybe you know that there's some connection to fossil fuels. Maybe you know that the ingestion of certain types of plastics can be, to some varying degrees, toxic. So yeah, plastic's bad. You've probably heard all that. How many of you have heard at least one of those things before you got to my class? And how many of you have heard all of those things before you got to my class? Dang. You see that there is quite a bit of conversation about the evils of plastic. It's just kind of sad that sometimes the alternatives aren't actually better. It's like you could use this product that's made from strangling children. Everybody's like, ugh, no, plastic's bad. So, as it happens, paper causes far more global climate change per bag, uses way more energy to recycle per bag. Paper can be recycled a very limited number of times before the fibers get too short and you can't make it into paper anymore. It's called down cycle. Whereas plastic in a theoretically perfect system can be recycled more or less forever. If you keep it away from sunlight and other chemicals, you can recycle the same type of plastic forever. It's gnarly. And even if it's not forever, you can recycle a lot. The carbon cost of transportation is far greater for paper, the habitat impact of paper is greater, the water pollution of paper is greater, and the water use of paper is greater, and the carbon cost of production for paper is greater. So holy crap, we all thought we were doing the right thing, and as it happens, there's all these surprising connections that we never thought of that make paper work. Now, these numbers might change any minute now. I'm not actually trying to make a point about the paper or plastic decision. I really don't care. It's pretty small. You have gigantic impacts. I'm not going to waste my breath or my energy thinking about the bag you use for your groceries. In the scale of your decisions, you could pretty much just ignore this one. You can tell the grocery clerk, whatever, bro. But the way of thinking is important, and that's what I want to do. I want to show you all of those other connections so that you don't have to take it from some washed up old idiot like me, but you know where to look, what information to get, how to consider other variables. We forget that our diet is related to ocean diversity in Thailand and quality of life for the poor all over the world and social trends on every continent, and that our diet affects the atmosphere, and that our diet affects our economy and our elections, and like all these connections are worth thinking about, because who knows, maybe you care about all those. So that's this class. I just try to like connect all these dots, and then the data keeps changing. So when I say that that's 3,000 paper bags versus one plastic, whatever, you don't have to quote me on that number. I'm just making those up. But I hope it illustrates a way for you to make those decisions if you can get better information. Facts are always changing, you know, like I'm not really qualified to give you those measurements. But this class has a bunch of surprising punchlines, like holy crap, huh? Plastic bags, all right. If you're ever curious about this paper bag, plastic bag thing, this is just a candy cane public access. This is from like, you know, some like Newsweek or some random. Yeah. But you know, it gets you started on this topic. If you want to chase down better facts, you might find greater accuracy. A lot of this stuff is outdated. For all I know, these sources are biased, but it's worth looking into. How many of you find this interesting? You want to talk about other examples of this unusual paradigm shift? This is kind of an obvious one. You all know these are made of steel? Good, know that? Plus plastic, plus rubber. So mining steel takes a tremendous amount of work, a lot of energy. That's why these things cost like $1 billion. Because you know they have a great embedded cost for all the resource and the energy that's used to make them. And so what I mean by embedded cost? Producer has to cover their cost before they can make some profits, and so of course this price includes their profit that's also embedded, but so is the cost of making it. Does that make sense to everyone? Whereas the alternative, of course the alternative is dirty evil plastic, and we know that it is actually quite dirty and evil. That's not a joke, but that dirty evil plastic, the most expensive part of this is the lid. That actually costs almost a penny. Usually 0.6 for these new thin ones. But you know, the plastic bottle itself, they're fractions of a penny. They're 0.01, 0.06 cents. Like that. But you know, we're like, oh no, the plastic's bad. You know, there's no plastic. So we make these like gigantic holes in the ground to dig up like starkly limited steel, and then we use like tremendous inputs of energy and labor to manufacture them into a bottle that you're probably going to forget in my classroom like these two kids did yesterday. If I told you that this, I'm going to make up a number for the sake of conversation, has 1,000 times the production cost of this. Good choice or bad choice to use this one? Yeah.
Well, it depends if you're going to use that 1,000 times.
Why did he say that? Somebody please paraphrase what he means. Why does it depend if you're going to use this 1,000 times?
Because it'd be the same cost.
If you use this 1,000 times, you would offset 1,000 of these.
Yeah.
So by then you'd break even on the impact.
Yeah. But no one's going to.
You understand what I mean by that? 1,000?
Yeah.
Yeah? Like if this was dollars, Doesn't cost $1,000, doesn't cost $1. It's a good deal. It uses more than okay.
How do you use a water bottle 1,000 times?
That's a really good question.
Well, that's the point. You're not gonna,
1,000 days.
like those kids
That is the
forgot
point.
it.
No, like a hydroplastic. What is using with that water bottle?
Okay. So if you had to purchase these every day that you go to school for 1,000 days and throw them away, as opposed to filling this at a fountain or a sink 1,000 times and keeping it with you.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's exactly the question. Like, once we establish that number, it starts to seem very important, because then you ask yourself, am I actually going to use this thing that number of times to offset the cost of the alternative? You understand what I mean by that? Life cycle analysis, it's called. The analysis of the life cycle of an item, cradle to grave, from the extraction to the production, distribution, the usage, and disposal. Life cycle analysis, cradle to grave. Yeah.
That's only the environmental cost. There's like the actual currency cost, where the hydro flask would be like $60 and the water bottle would be like $150.
Right, so they don't have to use it
So
40
like,
times to
you
make
only
it.
have to use it 40 to make a.
Right, so the economic one is interesting, absolutely. And if our economy had real price, that would be the same thing. But considering that we don't actually value things accurately, that's now a separate consideration. You're totally
Yeah.
right. What happens if I use this one time and then I lose it?
Pretty bad.
Somebody else finds it.
Yeah, maybe, right? I was planning to keep this. Don't tell McFarling. Who's McFarling? 9625379. Okay, don't tell Drews. Also, please don't tell whoever didn't put anything on theirs. Hi. Believe it or not, we're actually getting to the heart of the matter, which is just buying what people tell you to buy is never in and of itself the right solution. And there's actually a whole way of thinking that you can figure out, like you can learn. Like there's ways to get these numbers and you can get the right data and you can make a smart decision. It is possible to do the right thing, or at least a slightly better thing. You know what's wacky? There's often a surprising third path. I always try to look for those. If you're like A or B and you're like C. So I neither buy disposable bottles nor fancy reusable bottles. I pick up trash.
Bad way to put it.
I take somebody else's impact, erase it, by making an extended life out of their garbage without my own resource footprint.
You can also just reuse the really cheap plastic.
I know, yeah, these things, I tell you what, they last 1,000 uses.
They do a lot.
Yeah,
They're just not
Uh,
fancy.
So fun fact, they're very, very light. I climb rocks. And so these are my climbing bottles. I make like a little tiny clove hitch on there, like a little tiny clip loop, and that's what I carry when I climb. And I have one bottle, it's an Arizona iced tea bottle, the shaded brown ones that are plastic. That one has been with me for like 6 seasons. I've taken it in chimneys, I've beat the crap out of it. It is the grisliest, most funky bottle. It's probably like the Green Lagoon in there. But whatever, it's trash. Yeah?
Is it true that when those plastic water bottles get hot, like stuff seeps
Oh
into
yeah.
Because like I've been told like not to take those stuff to workouts because the plastic goes into the water or something.
You're totally right about that. The next question is how much of that?
Is it?
So you could pretty much just straight line that. You could like just put that stuff into your vein for the rest of your life, and it would probably not reach an actual toxicity threshold for your body. And coincidentally, I might be wrong. So I'm not a doctor. I'm not qualified to tell you what to inject in your bloodstream. If you didn't know that.
Just plastic.
The point I wanted to make with great care is that a lot of our concerns about toxicity don't include dosage, right? So we know that cocaine is bad for you, but if you had like a billionth of a gram, if you had a billionth of a gram of cocaine, it's still cocaine, which is bad for you, but I don't care if you take a billionth of a gram of cocaine. Do you understand my point?
Yep.
that dosage is actually more important than toxicity, because you can kill yourself with sugar or water or salt. So dosage is more important than toxicity. Yes?
What about those big water bottles that you like put upside down and you like put them on like those ceramic things and it just has like a little tap?
Yep.
Those plastic ones, we got like a glass one because they were telling us the plastic's bad to get into the water. Because that would sit there for a couple weeks.
I still dispute that the dosage is irrelevant.
Sure.
You have far greater toxicity concerns. So yeah, the extreme temperatures are bad, and solar radiation can make it bad. I don't think it makes enough of an impact. I think that you get greater volumes of those toxins in other parts of your life, and you probably have far greater toxicity to worry about than that. So you may want to consider how much sugar you eat or how close you are to your source of particulate air pollution before you get into this. Everybody adequately bored now? That's the class. Coincidentally, I should warn you, the fact that I am here to teach you these types of connections does not in any way qualify me as a role model for anything. For example, I will not get to use this a few thousand times. I know I won't. I'll forget it in my backpack or in my truck or in my garage or in my man cave one day. And when I forget it, the half and half that I use will fester inside the lid and it will smell like donkey butt and I'll throw it away. Or maybe I'll drop it and the lid will crack. Or maybe I'll lose it some place I visit. And no matter what, I am 100% certain that I will not get thousands of uses out of this. That doesn't offset disposable cups anyway, because I make my coffee at home. So the alternative for me is to use something which is probably more readily reliable with a smaller impact as it is. So I don't claim to be a hero. I justify my bad decisions because of my coffee addiction or other practical reasons. So I'm not here to preach, and you're not a bad person, and I'm not judging your mom on this. Any questions? Ready to move on from this discussion to other topics? I'd like to give you a quick tour of my classroom. Then I'll give you a tour of your class website. Then I'll show you some paperwork. Yeah? You already know the whiteboard. You've seen the screen. Like, this is about some of the only private space I have in the entire world. I have children, so I can't poop in private. Like, my shower is not for me. I have a little man cave, but my kids always want to go in there, so I don't actually have any private space. This is probably the closest I get to private. This is my truck. Nobody likes my trucks. It smells horrible.
How to try?
The 2003 Tacoma. Anyway, this is like where I keep all my stuff, and honestly, there's nothing of value here. Like, if you wanted to steal my stuff, I got a few quarters in this little flat drawer, but please close it after. There's nothing really worth stealing in there. But please stay out of my stuff. It's all gross and sticky. This is my TA station, getting grosser by the minute. I've got some lab materials. Hey-o! Don't worry about it. If we get trapped on a lockdown, I got a 5-gallon poop bucket. That's cool. And I've got toilet paper, cat litter, duct tape. If we run out of paper, I can't hold it, I got duct tape. We got a whole lot of plastic gloves. And it's cool. I got a tarp. I really don't know why they gave me the tart.
It still feels you.
I think it's a privacy screen. Yeah. Which is the wrong kind of privacy. I'd rather have earplugs. So you can all walk as long as you can't hear, you know what I mean? Yeah. Right, wouldn't that be horrible? Like, oh, you just went behind the screen? Oh, God. Apparently that happens. There's lockdowns. Yeah, so that's good. We got one of those. Where is it? What? Not for me. I have a fridge. If anybody ever wants to use it, I'm happy to share it. Also have a freezer. It's loud as F. You probably heard it clanking. Someday I'll replace it if I can salvage another fridge. If you'd ever like to use it, feel free to freeze stuff. You can nuke stuff. You can leave lunch here. I'm happy to share if that helps you. I have to warn you that during lobster season, this thing, the freezer side gets full of bait and smells bad. And during hunting season, if I ever get a buck, I usually age it here because my fridge at home is all full. So that's usually a time when I'll put tape over it and ask nobody to open it. Otherwise, there's a microwave. Art supplies, I don't know, we don't usually use them, but like scissors and rulers and stuff. Empty boxes, junk, liberal propaganda. Filing cabinets that you don't get to use. And I have to warn you, this is like touch and get burned sort of thing, because I have other teachers' curriculum, student work in these, and so I have to protect the privacy and integrity of those papers. Again, there's really not much of value anyhow, but be careful, don't mess with the filing cabinets. We make mistakes in your grades all the time. It's a hobby of ours. So if you ever have to fix your grades, we do it with evidence, not with words. We don't have to talk about it, you just put the correction in there, you can write a little note on it. Other lab materials go here, this fan and cart will leave. Students will not in the future leave their bags here. Whoops. It's all good, dude. Because this is where papers go, so that when you walk in, you always look to the right, and if there's a paper, that's a paper for the day. At the end of the day, I put them in the rack. So if you're absent on Tuesday, you check the rack on Wednesday for anything you don't recognize. If there's papers, they're for you, because I don't teach any other classes in this room. Recycling and trash, bad pencil sharpener. Nobody ever needs a library anymore. Solar houses, ugly family. Digital library. This is where the papers go back to you. So if you're absent when I hand out period 3 stuff, you would come and check here where it says number 3, and that would be your leftovers from pass out day. I take all your work and I give it all back in a big packet. If you didn't put names on any of your papers, you also didn't get credit for it, but you could check the no-name box. Yeah, bro?
We put that in the grade collection box or grade correction box afterwards? Or is that like...
If it was a no-name, yes. Is that your question?
Yeah.
If you happen to not label any of your papers, then they would come back unrecorded and you'd be like, oh, that was me, and you'd put it in there. Everybody else has heard that, so they're just going to fish in there for your unnamed paper, so heads up that it might not be there. Library of junk, whiteboard, reminders about policy. I got a nice sharpener now. It is less work than a manual one. Questions about anything? Welcome to the classroom. That is our flag, in case you didn't know. Take out your cellular devices or anything with a web connection. Claire, isn't it weird to be here again?
Yeah. You never did a classroom tour for our class.
That's probably true.
Thanks.
Now that you have your cellular device, your period's enrollment code, raise your hand if you don't know what I'm talking about. Important. Raise your hand if you don't know what I mean by enrollment code. You had your hand up and then you put it down? Because I saw you.
said no. Like, do you know what it is?
Ah! You are period 3, so your enrollment code is KKDWUHHJ. Please enroll. When you have enrolled, please balance your phone on top of your head. You may want to keep a hand on it. That's like a $700 computer housed in glass. Claire, do you think if I had an 8-foot ladder, you could reach that middle poster up there?
Maybe.
Is there a chance that you would fall?
Yes.
This sounds good. You want to roll the dice? You feeling it?
Sure. I don't know. That's terrifying.
Well, I did request a taller ladder, but it hasn't showed up yet, so I was kind of hoping that you would fall off the ladder.
Oh, okay. Do I have to go get the ladder? Because I can't carry a ladder.
Oh, come on. That is the smallest part of the problem. What?
Okay.
You got it.
Where is it?
There's a red ladder in my outdoor classroom.
Okay.
Yes?
Do you have to have the dash too?
Yeah, you do.
Yes.
You don't know what you're doing? Does anybody know what you're doing? Can you show her? Do you have to have a dash?
Yes.
Yes. Yes?
Well, I went to San Marcos, so it still says.
Right. In your case, that'll remain posted. You can write it on another paper to enroll later.
It says, when I try to log in, it says you must be logged into performance action. But then I log in, and it says error, you must be logged in.
We call that circularity.
Yeah.
I wonder if that perhaps... Yeah, exactly. Just log in.
Yeah.
Follow the instructions, Tequila. So I don't know, man. I don't know.
I'll just do it.
Cool.
That's what I have to do.
Dude, you're so bad at that.
It's on my phone.
And my hair is slippery.
You just have to perfect position there.
Shiny and smooth. Well, I'm tired of waiting now. So check this out. If you have joined my class, perhaps you can see a page that kind of looks like this in student form, where you only see Unit 0, I think. If you scroll down, I believe you can see upcoming assignments like 01, 02, and 03, which are also on the whiteboard on the right. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, I believe you'll find the links out box. Please click on that now. At the very bottom of my course website, at the bottom, there's links out. Okay. The first one I want you to check is the YouTube lecture stream. Warning, warning, warning. Right now, they're not auto-loading with an image or an accurate title. So they all have the same title and the same image, so you don't know what day it was. So please look up at the screen. I want to show you a distinction. Can you all see the cursor moving at the top of the screen? Please say something if you don't see the cursor. Okay. It auto-loads on playlist from that link, but if you click on videos to the left of that, then you can see all of my class videos. These are from previous years. But all these ones are all my tests on the weekend. Some of them include my mom. It's pretty cool. Here's one from, might be today actually. This might be happening right now. No, this is yesterday. This is yesterday. Yeah. It was streamed on August 21st, so you can eventually find the date. Thank you. Next.
Paper, better for the environment.
Next.
Paper, easy to reuse.
Next.
Paper, trash bag.
Next.
Plastic concrete.
Next.
Paper reusable.
Next.
Paper stands on its own. Stands on its own.
You might see that the sound quality is not very good, that you can't always see me when I walk in and out of the camera. But it's better than nothing, and I'm trying to make sure that you all have a resource when you're absent. Hopefully you can always find a stream of our classes every day. If you're enrolled in period 2 or 3, since you're in 3, for example, you are, then you might even be able to watch it live if you're not in the room. Anyway, there are links to Green Club Facebook page and Apes course Facebook page. There's the course, there's the Green Club, or vice versa. Hey everybody, Claire Baker's gonna fall off a ladder now.
Why don't you make a really tall person do it?
Are you the tallest person I have? You're also the only person I have.
I'm not sure.
I got you. I'm gonna spot you from back here. I got you. Hey kids, when Claire gets all the way up, I'd like you to all throw your keys. No, you gotta get on the very top step.
Oh my god.
Where it says don't stand here. Nice.
You want all of them?
And then the one to the right of it. Yeah. Nice.
Oh my god.
Alright, bro, you made it. Bummer.
Sorry.
We gotta make some new ones. That have the enrollment codes for this period. And then we'll make something similar. This one you have to wait because I gotta show you what the titles are. But this one, I'll just show you the last 2 of these. And you need something big that's easy to read from the back. It's like old marker. Can you do that? Just leave it there.
Okay.
Is that workable? Can you find paper?
Probably.
Okay. Alright. These things about book face, I gotta warn you about a few different things. First of all, I know Facebook is totally played out just for old people these days. I am not encouraging you to use Facebook. I think Facebook is a horrific way to socialize. However, I don't even want you to use your real accounts. Make a dummy account, name yourself Zorro, upload a picture of a cat or clown or whatever you want, and then use that dummy account. Nobody wants to see your easy bathing suit photos anyway. And just upload photos when you're in the class, ask questions to the other students who might have the photos that you need. Someday you're gone and some kid in the front took a picture for himself. Then you say, hey, what did Jose draw on the board today? And boom, you can get a photo of what was on the board that day. 100 other students who didn't bother to take notes will think you're a hero for having uploaded a photo. I make errors. I get pulled out of class sometimes. Kids catch my typos. Hey, did you all notice that Jose said something different than what was in number 3 or whatever? And as a community, you can all kind of stay connected to what I'm doing in class without the social element of Facebook, it's actually really handy because you can have all that stuff pushed out to your cell phone whenever it loads. You can have it emailed to you, you can get a weekly review, you can turn off notifications and just check in when you need it, and that's all. The one for the Green Club has waivers, maps, photos that you need for the extra credit thing. The one for the course, if I ever have to cancel an after-school film, for example, that's where I do it. So you might drive all the way from across town and, you know, give up on some potential conquest to show up here to do this thing and just waste your time because you didn't know it was canceled, but the kids that are on there would know. So it's probably worth the effort to make a dummy account if you don't want to use your real one and join these two different Facebook groups. Finally, there's a personal information Google form, which is a homework assignment. Let me know how to reach you and other people. And there's a link to the review book that I recommend. Which is this one. If you plan to take the AP test or you'd like something extra to study for my unit exams, this thing is awesome. Here's the entire course slimmed down to just a few pages of really good notes. It's really helpful for my unit exams, it's really helpful for the AP test, it's pretty cheap, and it's way better than the big clunky ones that everybody else recommends. I don't like any of them. I've checked them every year for 15 years. Question?
What's it called?
The link is up there, but if you don't want that, it's called the Smarty Pants Guide to the AP Environmental Science Exam. Clear? You get my paper?
Not like that.
Look at number 5 here. I have some papers there. If it helps you, I have a big old clipboard to work on. Okay. Questions about my website? I try to make it current and accurate. The classroom is always the best resource, but otherwise that should give, oh, you can print out all my handouts. They're in the unit attachments for each of the units. So if you ever don't get the papers, you can get them there. Usually it's the right version, maybe not, so the best source is always the classroom. The assignment dates are usually accurate. The whiteboard is always accurate. Yeah?
Last question. Do you just want us to print off the online thing by personal info, or do you just like type it in and submit it?
Type it in and submit it. Anybody else? Yeah?
When should we do that by?
Let me check the whiteboard. Any more brain busters for me? Remember that papers are normally in the back when you walk in, but you know, not this time. Take one pass back. Take one pass back. Take one pass back. Take one pass back. You got this, Claire. You got this. We're gonna read this thing to death over the next few days. You'll have plenty of time. It's pretty boring for me to make you read or watch you read, So instead, I'd just like to give you a quick tour. Please look up. The first page is policy and procedure. That's kind of important. This is all the stuff you got to know to like be in the class. A lot of this barely is mentioned, so if you're absent, this is the authoritative document to being in my class. Then there's a page of description of different ways to get extra credit, and most students do extra credit. I have to warn you, my exams will often sneak up on even the most prepared students, so extra credit is considered to be something that everybody loads up on. Then there's a page where I've written a note to your parents, and to paraphrase, just give me money and access to hunting. Then there's a course outline in case you're curious, like when are we actually going to get to this topic. This gives you the order of topics. And finally, on the back is a description of those 3 assignments that are on the whiteboard. Unit 0, first assignment, Unit 0, second assignment, and Unit 0, third assignment. 0.1, 0.2, and 0.3. Please note, they're all due Friday. Many of you already did 0.1. I saw that like 27 of you already enrolled in the course, right? I saw that a couple of you already did the survey. That's a lot of cell phone typing. All right, so you've already done 0.2. And then you can just fake your mom's signature for 0.3. But you should know that the parents often come to the back to school night or open house or whatever. And then I always tell them like, oh yeah, Georgia did give me your signature already. And Meredith be like, I'd be like, sorry, Georgia. So you may want to have a real parent really sign that. And sometimes it's cool if they know what the policies are, then they're not going to heckle you a lot. Because it says in here some stuff that you might want your parents to know later so that they won't be as frustrated about your time here. That's the packet. I didn't have any other plans for today. Some of my classes I didn't even get to this point. In this case, we've got 6 whole minutes. You can just read that packet, I suppose. But we can talk about whatever we want. Here, let me turn off the evidence for a minute.